And I am live. I'm gonna try this from the computer tonight and see who joins me. But yeah, tonight we're gonna be talking about Korea. I just got back from Korea. Well, it's actually been over a week. Now that's hard to believe. And I need to send out a bunch of thank you notes. But yeah, super excited. Thanks for the thumbs up. I'm doing live tonight from my PC. And that is, look at that. I look all pretty cool because I've got the jacket behind me. I wore that one time. Um, so I'm just going to load up the live on the. I'm going to load up the live on the phone too so I can see the chat. Although I think I might see it over here. So, Matthew, how are you doing, sir? I hope you're having a wonderful spring and your box turtles and your Russian tortoises are all up and out and happy. I will say my box turtles aren't up. I put them outside like before I went to Korea and they are just kind of hanging out underneath a leaf litter. I thought they would come out on sunny days, but then I temp gunned the leaf litter and it was really cold. It was like 55 degrees in there. And so yeah, they weren't leaving there. So I hope they're okay. I think they're okay. Um, but I'm really excited for it to get really nice and warm. So Ryan just sent some cool photos. So Matthew, what do you want to know about Korea? Yeah, okay. So his is Matthew says that his box turtles have gone back down with this weather. Some Russians are out for a bit and then back into the cold frame. And Matthew was also able to get some Egyptian tortoises. So that is super cool. That is super exciting. Um, Firebelly toads. I did not see any firebelly toads, even though I was in firebelly toad country. I had definite possibilities for those. I'm going to see if I can share my screen. I don't know if I can or not. It doesn't look like I can. I'm going to have to get that actual software um, that YouTube offers. Um, I was thinking I was going to be able to share some photos, but it doesn't look like I can do that. I mean, we were in the mountains of Korea, and that is where firebelly toads live. And we saw some streams, but I will tell you, like every single stream we saw was like I don't want to say mucked up, but it just had lots of human disturbance. Every waterway looked like it had multiple dams on it. I don't know if that was for flood control or what, but it just wasn't. Um, it wasn't. It didn't look real natural. And then the other weird thing is that we totally missed a rainy period. So we were out in the middle of nowhere in what we would call nowhere, but it was this beautiful place called Bakdudagan National Arboretum. And we thought it was going to rain, and that rain all went south of us. So I really thought that rain was going to bring out the firebelly toads and I could see actual firebelly toads. But in the end, no firebelly toads. So what was the craziest animal you saw? So we hardly saw any animals, any wildlife except birds. You know, we talk about there not being a lot of wildlife in Asia, and quite frankly, that's what I observed. We saw one small deer, don't know what species, that was a roadkill on the side of the road, but other than that, we were often in these botanic gardens, kind of in the middle of the day. And you know what? I saw no like crazy wild animals. There's these frogs that I saw. That was probably the neatest thing. But we saw a lot of feral cats in the city. And like the craziest animals I saw in the pet area, in those stores. Yeah. So it was the newts, right? Because we can't get any of those newts, and specifically these fire belly newts, which had like greenish gold flecking on the back. So bright red belly, orangish red belly, brown skin, and this like goldish greenish flecking. For me, that was the coolest animal. The Asian arowanas were really cool too. They were super, just, I mean, I can see why people want those. They're just super popular, pretty big fish. Let's see, other weird things. They had two giant Mexican musk turtles, which I didn't film at the first place I went into. Those were huge. I didn't see enough to, um, I didn't see them. I couldn't film them, but those were pretty cool. I'd never seen the musk turtles that big. And I'm trying to think what else. Um, I mean, I didn't see anything that we couldn't get except those newts, right? They had a lot of dart frogs. I didn't film those, but I would say in general there was nothing there pet wise that I hadn't seen before. Um, However, the seafood place, that is a totally different story. So this week's video, it's a live market of a live a market of the fish market, the seafood market, and literally it is just chock full of fresh, alive seafood. So it's absolutely insane. I'd never been into anything like that. I really wanted to go to that fish market. And the fact that so much of that fish and seafood was alive was pretty darn incredible. So that was spectacular. But, in general, the people of Korea were so nice. We made so many friends. We had arranged this trip through one of my colleagues' contacts in the United States, and he was able to connect us with lots of amazing gardens and people. And so we first went to a place called the Korea National Arboretum, and that was a government facility. Kind of reminded me of being back in government. And it's amazing. I mean, they have like just teams of scientists studying ecology and research and the forest surrounding that arboretum. And, I guess the most interesting thing, if you've ever been through the mountains of the eastern US, Korea looked like I was in the mountains of the eastern United States. Think North Carolina, um, Virginia, like Western Virginia, Kentucky, even Southern Ohio, West Virginia. It was spring, and they have oak trees, they have maple trees, they have pines. And so when you looked up on the side of the mountain, it really, really looked like I was in the Carolinas or the Appalachians. The big difference is that spring is dry there. It's their dry season, so that was kind of nuts that it was so dry. We think of spring as a very wet time in this country, so that was a kind of weird thing. I mean, apparently they get a lot of their rains come August and September when they have monsoons and they actually have typhoons. So that was pretty cool. Um, we went to different places, obviously. So the second place we went to was called Chalipo Arboretum, And this is a fantastic place. They specialize in magnolias. So lots of different um, colors and amazing magnolias. We have these yellow flowered magnolias, which are hybrids of a North American and an Asian species. And the one in particular is called the Vulcan uh, magnolia. It was just awesome. So, how cold does it get down to? So I don't know how cold it gets, but they definitely have four seasons, and it has winter. They have snow in the mountains. It's not unusual for it to snow. I think that is a regular part of life there. And they were kind of surprised that we had seasons, right? But they did. So okay, Sean is here. Sean's the Reptile Show reporter. Thanks for stopping in, Sean. I hope you're doing well. Sean and I switch nights. So uh, if you used to watch Sean's show on Wednesday nights at or Thursday nights at 8, we're switching so I can watch Sean's show. And so Sean goes to reptile shows and then finds a great vendor and interviews the vendor about what they sell. So thanks, Sean, for coming. Feel free to ask me anything you want to know about my trip to Korea, why I went, who I saw, what I saw there. It's been about a week and a half since I've been back, but man, so many people have asked me so many different questions. So please put your questions in the chat. So Matthew's talking about. I think he put his chat. I don't know. That might be another live, Matthew. The Switch works better for me too, with a triplet soccer practice. Um, so Chilipo Arboretum was the second place we went to. At each place, we get Rama and I, who is what's called a Longwood Fellow. Rama is from the UK, but he holds dual citizenship. He came to my workplace, the Holton Arboretum, for a 2-month placement to learn about garden leadership, and then he said, um, "Hey, let's go to let's go to North Korea. Let's go to Korea." And so I did it, and I was super excited about that. So Sean, as far as animals in the wild there, I saw very few things. We saw birds, and of course the trip wasn't about animals, so we weren't explicitly going to see animals, but I really just didn't see much. It was incredibly devoid of wildlife, in my opinion. They have deer. The deer are small. They're an Asian species. There were road crossing, like deer. Watch out for deer, just like there are here. We did see a deer that had been hit by a car. Just these little guys, brown but strong, like nice dark brown skin. So that is or fur. That is about the only really interesting like large mammal we saw. Of course, tigers would have been in this part of Korea, the Siberian tiger. And so the one arboretum that we went to, Bakdudagon, um, they have tigers, and they have like a 10-acre pen for 6 tigers. So that's pretty big, Siberian tigers. So that's what we were able to see. So once we got back to Seoul, yeah. So Sean, once I get back to Seoul, and if you watch my video, I went to a place that someone has dubbed Pet Alley, and I really want to know what the economy was like there because for whatever reason, you can people here we have like major pet stores. You used to have the mom and pop shops, but they're basically gone. But there you go to this one place, okay? It's in the Daedu market area, and in a block and a half you have tiny little pet shop after tiny little pet shop. and there must have been 30 shops. So I walked right into the first one. They were a little hesitant, but they have like Peninsula Cooters. They have racks of ball pythons. They had like 50 green anoles in an enclosure. They had dozens and dozens of the Japanese and Chinese newts. I was talking to Mike Novi about those and trying to guess what species they might have. Um, but literally, you could just go, like, walk a quarter mile and visit 30 different pet shops. So it was sort of like the reptile show, but every day. We talk about the reptile show being once a month in Cleveland, and people are surprised about that. But no, they literally have this whole market area where you can just go to shop after shop after shop. And quite frankly, they have a lot of the same things, but they had leopard tortoises, baby Russian tortoises. There were some giant Mexican musk turtles. There were some yellow spotted Amazon river turtles. There were African pygmy hedgehogs. I saw a sugar glider. Um, but the bird stores by far were the scariest, most frightening places. Okay, so if you go watch that video that I have, there's just like 30 parrots smushed together in a little display tank outside, and then you go inside these stores. I did not go inside, but you just see like towers of birds, and quite frankly, that's not healthy. um why are they not used to tourists visiting the pet shop, says um our friend in Iowa. Oh man, my brain is not working. I don't know. This was an area where the people of Korea shopped. I did see one person from Ohio there. Um, like they walked by me, but yeah, no, this was not a touristy area at all. And some of the places just looked at me and didn't really want to let me in. And so, yeah, I think they do have Kim. They have a lot of I don't know, so many birds. I've never seen so many birds um, in my life. Um, it was it was just ridiculous. Yeah, I blanked on your first name there for a while. I was like, I know your last name. So it was neat. I didn't see the other weird thing about Korea is that they have these things called pet cafes. I didn't go into them at all, but if you Google Korea pet cafe, so basically, hey, you want a pet, but you have a small apartment and not much space, you can just hang out in the pet cafe and have a raccoon um, eat dinner with you. And I'm not kidding. They have different ones. They have pet or cat cafes. One of the photos I took actually said cafe, and I didn't even realize it. So Dan's Turtle Room says he's back. Yes, I am. We've got Greg's Turtle Haven with us too. So hey, Greg, how are you doing? Kim from the Big and Small Tortoise Rescue Sanctuary, and Sean from the Reptile Show Reporter. So thanks for joining me. I am back. We'll start having guests again, and let me know who you want. Sean, you want to talk about red-footed tortoises and your experiences with them next week? Maybe we can do that. So, but yeah, I'm back. 10 days. It was a trip to reconnect with the Korean Botanical Gardens. In the 1980s, my organization went to Korea and gathered lots of plants from there that we still have. And so everyone retired basically, though, so we lost connections. And we would like to know if those plants are helpful to those people and to the people in Korea. We made tons of friends. The people were just amazingly friendly. it was really easy to get around on public transportation. It's wonderful. And okay, Matt says, Dan, I'll check out your channel. Um, Matt says that Dan from Dan's Turtle Room should be a guest. That sounds great. Dan, what species do you work with? Let me know in the comments. And because I like to pick a species and then do a deep dive on one of those species. I'd love to do an aquatic turtle too. We did the alligator snapping turtles with Greg's Turtle Haven. But yeah, Dan, if you're up for it, I'd be happy to have you. So I need a guest for next Thursday. And Sean, I would love to bring Sean on too. So yeah, it was great. And the people were just so friendly. And we're right next to North Korea. I mean, we were like 25 miles. And my wife, she was like just watching where I went, via the iPhone, and like she sent a screen capture and like exclamation point because like my icon was overlapping with the DMZ, the demilitarized zone, for a little bit, but it was pretty cool. So Matthew, no problem that you had to bail. Okay, so Dan, so spotted turtles. Yeah, I'd love to talk spotted turtles with you, Dan, if you're willing. So let's I'll connect. And thanks, Matthew, for connecting with us. So but yeah, it was pretty cool. I really felt fortunate that I got to travel there for work and to study plants. Like I said, like if you walked through a forest in Korea and you're used to the eastern U.S. forest, like a nice oak forest, you look down, you see oak leaves all around, you hear that crunch, you look up, you see the trees just starting. Korea is temperate. They have 4 seasons, deciduous trees. It is so much like Ohio or West Virginia or Kentucky, or even little Maine. So, okay, Sean. Yeah, we definitely want to. When I say Little Maine, I meant Little Pond. That's where we go to my in-laws' place. But yeah, I thought I was gonna be able to share some photos, but it doesn't look like the native app. Oh, maybe I can. No, I don't think the native YouTube live streaming app has an ability for me to share. So the food was awesome. It's a peninsula, so I ate things like abalone and whelk and jellyfish. Apparently, that just kind of tasted like noodles. Um, we ate this sea eel. It was called. Um, they have flounder there. They have these giant flounder that you'll see in the video Sunday morning. Um, and there's that dog is something that people eat in Korea. Believe it or not. I mean, you may have heard that. There was there like I just happened to pull out my Google app for finding a place to eat. Our second day there, and one of the places said like dog meat cafe. So we didn't go to any of those places. For the most part, we ate with our Korean friends, and they were able to kind of guide us on what we had, what we were eating. Quite frankly, it all tasted fantastic. I love seafood, and it's all fresh. And they don't eat bad food there, right? I mean, we're so just used to processed crap. So everything just felt like it was made from scratch and not just reheated and mixed together Applebee's food. So, yeah, drop your questions in the comments. We've got about 7 more minutes. I'm happy to take any more questions. Yeah, it sounds like everyone wanted to hear about the animals. The fish were great. I mean, as far as the pet shops, if you're into fish, you can pretty much find any fish you've ever seen in a U.S. pet store. But like the discus, oh man, those were just fantastic. Huge, bright, colorful discus. And then like every shop had them. uh, I mean, there were probably 1,000 discus in Pet Alley. Just giant, big goldfish, and every tank was spotless. You didn't see dirty tanks, right? So they're doing something right. They have 30 different vendors. They're all competing with each other, and their fish tanks were immaculate. It was cool, Anthony. Coupled with plants. I know we're not plant people, but they've got this rhododendron called the Korean rose bay. It's pink. It's an azalea, and it just grows all over the hillside. So you look up and you see pink all along the edge of the forest, and then throughout the forest, there's cherry blossom trees like we think of in Washington D.C., and they're just kind of scattered throughout the hills. So it was just amazingly scenic. So Korea is a developed country. It's the 14th largest economy in the world. 80% of the cars we saw were Kia or Hyundai. That's not surprising, but they're all new. Their roads are like our roads. They're a little bit more complicated. Their on ramps and off ramps are a lot shorter. It was really hard to navigate at first. We finally found that the GPS app in the car was the best thing. If you want to go, don't use Google Maps, because Google Maps does not work in Korea. There's a company called Kakao Talk, or Kakao, and you have to download their app. So everybody uses Kakao Talk to talk to each other, either just a call or chat. They don't have to pay for their cell service. And just looking at Matthew's question. So what all were you able to share during your discussion there for work? So basically what we're doing is making connections, right? And seeing really seeing if there are opportunities for us to exchange germplasm. So for us to possibly work with them for conservation purposes to have some Korean plants in our botanical gardens. So basically, we went to these 3 arboretums, and Rama and I gave a presentation. So Rama was really advertising this program called the Longwood Fellows Program, which he was a part of. It's this intensive reality show-like experience where you live in a mansion in Philadelphia and work with a cohort of 5 people to be a garden CEO. And so he was telling people all about that. And then we met with the directors at each of the arboretum, and we were just exchanging like, oh, what are your problems, or what are your challenges? Just kind of exchanging that information and seeing what their priorities are. So exactly. Yes, that was totally what it was, Matthew. It was a networking opportunity. And this is international conservation is what it is. And super cool that I had that opportunity to go there and do that. And plants, they have superpowers, guys. Thanks, Kyle. Yeah, it was totally an awesome, amazing experience. And, it just was fantastic. And hopefully it leads to a long relationship, right? And, I love animals, guys, but plants are endless. I mean, there's so many interesting things about all the different plant species, and I love to learn about how they grow and where they grow. So, just studying the flora there, understanding what the plants are, why those plants perhaps didn't do well in our gardens over the past 40 years that we've been growing them. Maybe um, our plants might be useful to them in the future. We went to this really cool seed bank. If you saw the icon, there's this little building with a little like dome on it. That is an underground seed vault. That place can store seeds at negative 20 Celsius forever, for as long as we're around. And that is Korea's conservation gene bank, essentially, for plants. And they're working to put all of their seeds throughout Korea in this seed bank. They're also working with plants from all around what's called the Ring of Fire. So from Paraguay up to Mexico, California, Alaska, over to Russia, Japan, and all the way down. So we'll probably send seeds from our arboretum, from plants that we collected in Korea. We'll send them back, and they can be preserved in that seed bank. So yeah, it is just it's international conservation is what it is, and making those connections and saying, hey, what are your researchers working on? Perhaps there's room for cross collaboration there. I put together two of our scientists who study this stuff called mycorrhizal fungi that help plants obtain nutrients. And sure enough, the people in Korea have the same conservation challenges we do. Their plants on top of mountains are not doing well, just like our plants on top of mountains aren't doing well. They're very focused on climate change and things like that. So that's what that was all about, just to make those connections, botanist to botanist, curator to curator, share stories, see what they're doing in a totally different context, and then bringing that back to inform what we do at the Cleveland Botanical Garden and the Holden Arboretum. So that's the two places I work. Check them out, holdenfg.org. I will put it in the chat. I write a weekly blog there called It's Poppin', so you can kind of see what's blooming and what we do. We have some cool stuff at the Arboretum. We have a 120-foot tower. So you can climb up that, look out and see in every direction, see Lake Erie, see over to Canada on a clear day, and then see the entire forest that we have at our Arboretum. So check that out. So thank you, Anthony. I really appreciate it. So that's what I do. International plant conservation. And, we can do the same thing with turtles, right? Okay. I mean, I don't get paid to do turtle work, but I can use this knowledge, these contacts, and translate that to the private sector so that we can, I think, move forward with turtle conservation and elevate turtle conservation in the private sector, right? So if you listen to Ryan and I's Let's Talk Turtles podcast that came out yesterday, right? We talk about the way forward, and I think we just pool our expertise of those that are in the private sector, and we got to work with and we got to collaborate with each other, and if we don't, we're missing an opportunity. And as you can see, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is skeptical, to say the least, about the efforts that we do. So cool, guys. Well, thank you for stopping by. Anthony, I'm ready to be on the podcast May 8th. So if we're still on for that, let me know. And I'm excited about that. Love to talk about more private collaboration and conservation efforts that we can do within the private world, unassociated with institutions. So, um, thanks, guys. We'll see you next time. Have a good one.